For many, springtime means rebirth, new beginnings. But for some, it's a dark time. The National Institutes of Health reports that the majority of studies confirm that suicide peaks in spring. Why? Let's ask psychotherapist Nancy Collier, author of, among other books, The Power of Off, The Mindful Way to Stay Sane in a Virtual World. Nancy, welcome back. Your book title suggests one obvious issue, at least to this layman. Has our gradual migration from the real world to the virtual world made some of us terminally lonely?
Yes, is the short answer to that question. There's so many reasons and so many reasons for us to be concerned right now about the doubling of the teen suicide rate and the rates overall. But certainly technology plays a part in isolating us, oddly, although we think it connects us. In fact, what we're finding is that people become more attached to their devices and are spending less time out in the world, in hobbies, in communicating in person with other people. And what we're finding is that actually people feel sadder. I'm not at all surprised by the rise in depression. And now suicide has become a real option with shows like 13 Reasons. Yeah,
irony being social media is making us antisocial. The springtime data surprised me. We hear so much about end of the year holiday season blues. Does your practice reflect increased angst this time of year?
It's interesting because it is a paradox. We think of, the holiday season with family, and then we think of the darker, shorter days. But what we've found in the research is, well, a couple things. One is just biological. There is some evidence, although not entirely corroborated, but that pollen may trigger certain immune response, which sets off mood disorders. So it's a funny thing, we don't know about that, but one thing I certainly find in my practice is that people look around and they see this wonderful weather and they see how everyone else, talk about the internet, looks happy. Just look at your Instagram feed. Look at what everybody's, on their catamaran in Bali. Springtime, everybody has this feeling they're supposed to be out with their loved one, walking in gardens, and of course very few people are. Some are, and that's wonderful. But there's a sense of, I'm not living the spring that I'm supposed to be living, this comparison. And that gets triggered, which sets off a depression, and so on and so on and so on. The other thing I've noticed in my practice is that springtime has a tendency for endings. We break for the summer. Our communities take pauses, and we need community. We need community to be well. And so if we already are suffering with depression and our places of contact are closed for the summer, we see actually a rise in suicide.
Makes sense. Recently released Gallup poll data demonstrate that Americans' stress, worry, and anger intensified in 2018. Asked about their feelings the day before they were surveyed, those polls said nearly half of us feel worried a lot, more than 1 in 5 feel angry a lot, and Americans are among the most stressed people in the world, with the 15 to 49 age group most stressed. And this comes as the economy is roaring. Nancy, does this validate what Rush Limbaugh and his army of imitators call Trump derangement syndrome?
It does. It really does. And anger does not lead to happiness. Anger leads to stress. All of the stuff that Trump and this whole administration is fomenting leads to misery. So we don't get happy when we're hating. We don't get happy when it's us against the other.
Right.
None of this works, and in this country, what we need right now is we need to start focusing on mental health and what makes us well. More hate does not make us well, and it does not make us happy, and it does not make us rich.
Amen.
So we absolutely need to bring some sanity back to the way we're living that actually makes people well. Suicide is going up because the whole way that we're living, not only the economic insecurity, not only the rage that's being fomented and worked, not only the climate insecurity, not only the everywhere you look, somebody is being blown up about some reason for hate, right? But none of this works. So we've got to get back to some sanity.
Makes sense. Thank you, author and psychotherapist Nancy Collier.
I'm Larry King. Questioning, listening, learning. You know, I've always said I never learned anything when I was talking. It's important to listen. Question more.